Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sunshine Zee, which you can call me Z. And if you are new here, welcome. I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy the content, and if you do, please do consider subscribing, and I'd appreciate it if you liked the video as well, and it would be a bonus if you commented. And if you are a returning subscriber, how are you? I hope you are well. I am well by the grace of God, and we're not going to address the elephant in the room because you know. So let's just get straight into this video. Before I start sharing my testimony, I wanted to share something that I remembered yesterday. There's a song we used to sing. The person that I know sings the song is Israel Houghton, and it goes, "Let the redeemed of the Lord say so. Let the redeemed of the Lord say." Let me actually find it. Yes. I'm sure you get the point of the song, and it's quite a jam, isn't it? So if you don't know about that song, you're welcome. I hope you enjoy it. Do share if you know it, or if you know any other artists that have the same song, or because it's based on scripture, and that's what I'm about to read now. It's found in the book of Psalm 107. It's found in verse 2, but I'm going to read verse 1 as well. It says, "Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endures forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, whom he has redeemed from the hand of the enemy." So I was talking to somebody about being redeemed, and then I went and found this song, which I haven't heard in many years. And as I was listening to the song, I then realized that actually it's based on scripture. And then I went and read it, and as I was thinking about it, I realized that, you know, basically what this scripture is, and I don't know if this is a Psalm of David, let me just check, but I know that David tends to I know there's a scripture, I'll put it here somewhere, where he says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul." So he tends to speak to himself, you know, to speak to his soul. And I was thinking about it, that, you know what, it's one thing to be redeemed and say it to other people, which is what this psalm is saying. You know, let the redeemed of the Lord say so, right? But it's also another thing to say it to yourself, like speak to yourself, speak to your soul. You know, the same way that, as I said, David said, "Bless the Lord, O my soul." It's really important to also remind yourself, because I think it's so important to be reminded of your identity, to be reminded of what God has done in your life. So if you are redeemed, and if you're born again, you are redeemed by God, say so. Say it, you know, not just to other people, but speak it to yourself. Remind yourself, especially when times get hard, especially when life comes at you, you know, from all sides. Remind yourself that I am loved by God. I am seen by God. I am redeemed by God. Speak it in advance, because, you know, sometimes you're feeling like, how am I going to get out of this particular situation? However, it's really important to, and that's what scripture is for, you know, to remind yourself that I am redeemed. I'm going to be sharing my testimony, and this is a testimony that happened in 2022. I'm still a testimony, by the way, that's why, you know. it feels odd to say it happened because I'm still a testimony, and where I am is still a testimony. However, I felt led to share this, I think simply because sometimes we don't realize that we need to surrender certain things in order for God to come in, because sometimes we're praying and praying, you know, we're asking God for this breakthrough, but we're still holding on to what we can do. So we do things, we tend to do things or want to do things in our own strength, in our own power, what we can do. So anyways, I think the reason why I thought about it a lot recently is because June, July was when, you know, yeah. Anyways, let me get into the story. I hope that it's not too long. I'm gonna try compact it, or actually there's certain parts of it that I don't think I'm gonna tell. I'll probably tell separately because they are stories in themselves. Hope that makes sense. But anyways, so 2022, around about February of that year. So okay, let's take it a little bit further. So I was on a sabbatical since 2020, or late 2020. So by the end of 2021, I was done with my sabbatical because it was supposed to just be a year. And now I was just trying to figure out what to do. And by February of 2022, I had decided that I wanted to go back into the corporate space, go back to work. And so I started applying for jobs, and I think I started applying in March. And believe it or not, only those who are close to me can testify about the story. I got a call, you know, like I got a response, if I can put it that way, I think almost a week later, which is really, yeah. I got a response about a week later, and I went for an interview. The first interview went so well that by the time they invited me for the second interview, I was like, won't he do it? You know, I was just like, wow, you know, because I was really fast. I mean, people will job hunt for years, not even just months, but for years. And yeah, I'm just starting to job hunt. I don't even think we can call it job hunting at that point, because I had just submitted my CV at a couple of places, and I get a call, first interview goes exceptionally well, get invited to the second interview. I'll not go deep into that second interview, but ciao. You know, so I think the best way to put it is to say I just discerned that that was not a situation I wanted to get myself into. And for the first time in my life, I've never had to really, okay, there's another story. I need to tell another story. But I mean, I needed this job, right? That other story, you hear it when I tell it some other time. But in this case, I really, really needed this job. And, you know, for me to basically be like, no thanks, was difficult. It was difficult, and it was something I had never done. And it's like you're saying no to a job, and then what? What's your fallback plan, right? But God should have been my plan A, not even a fallback plan, but my plan A. So anyways, that was around April, you know, so like the back and forth between myself and the company happened around, like I said, end of March going into April. I was convinced that I was going to start perhaps end of April or beginning of May, but like I said, that situation didn't work out. I literally had to pull out of there because it's just, yeah, it was giving toxic situation. But anyways, I still, like, it was a very difficult decision as mentioned, but I still really felt that, you know what, God is showing me that this is the right path for me. Because as I said, I wasn't sure during my sabbatical. The reason I took the sabbatical was for me to just sort of reassess my life and decide what I wanted to do with my life. So now I was like, okay, this means I am capable, I'm ready to get back into the corporate space. I'm ready to go for interviews, that's what that meant for me. And it didn't work out. To be honest, I wasn't as bummed. I really wasn't as bummed as perhaps somebody would be. Well, I think it's because I'm the one who said no thanks. So anyways, that doesn't work out. I then start applying seriously again. And let me tell you something about me. I am such an Excel girl. Microsoft Excel and me, like, we are besties, okay? So I had an Excel spreadsheet. I was tracking all my applications. I was doing the most, even if I do have to say so myself. I was doing the most. So I was tracking my applications. I was, making sure that, everything corresponds. And I was really like hardcore job hunting. Like, that was job hunting. Like, because there was a schedule, there was targets. I had weekly targets and I had an accountability partner. Like, I did everything that I possibly could do. And not much was happening around June. And that's the thing. Around June, I'm not even sure which one came first. But there's one that came, but that also didn't work out, didn't do so well with the assessment, but also didn't really do the interview. That situation was just something else. But anyways, okay, but that sort of gave me a lot of hope, because I was like, okay, all right, my efforts are working, my efforts are paying off. And then came another opportunity, and that one definitely has to be a story time on its own, because that one, anyways, that one really was hard. That was a hard pill to swallow. And one day when I do tell that story as well, you might understand why that one really just that one really was, it was very, very disappointing. It was really, really disappointing. So those two happened in June. And then by July, or by the end of June, I was becoming very desperate. So as a result, I applied for this position that, if we're being honest, I was overqualified for. So I applied for this position that, as I'm saying, I was overqualified for, but I justified it by saying that, I don't have that specific experience, so that's how I justified it. But to be honest, I was really desperate, like super desperate. I was drained, because remember, at this point it's 3 months of constant applying, and at this point there's 3 disappointments, there's 3 roles that did not work out, and each one more heartbreaking, as time went. It just got more and more heartbreaking. Like, on the one hand, it gives you hope to say, okay, my CV is being picked up. But on the other hand, every time it doesn't work out, you start thinking, okay, what am I doing wrong? So anyways, I think at this point, I'm reaching for like the low hanging fruit, as they would say, right? Reach out for this low hanging fruit, and the HR person calls me, and even she says to me, listen, don't you think you're a bit overqualified for this position? And I talk her into, no, I'm not, that whole story. And I was really just like, this is it. This is my one shot, because I think, given that I was overqualified for that position, it's like, if I lose this, then then what do I even have, right? So she decides to give me a shot, invites me for an interview. I go for the interview that day, and Lord, I'm not gonna cry. I go for the interview. So my interview was at around 2, not around, it was at 2 p.m. My interview was at 2 p.m. I get there at around 1 p.m. Not 8 a.m. 1 p.m. And I think that's the nice thing about, you know, having like an afternoon interview, is that you get to sort of I don't know, ease into the day, but also, yeah, man, I don't know, I really feel like I prefer these sort of afternoon type situations, mainly probably because I'm not a morning person at all. So if I had to be at an interview at like 8 a.m. to a place I didn't know, like, I feel like that would have been just a lot of anxiety. Whereas in the afternoon, I think you get anxious when you wake up, but you start calming yourself down, and I think you know that you have enough time to get to the place and find the place, you know, things like that. Anyways, get there around 1 p.m. and at around 1:30, 20 to 2, I mean, I go inside and I report by the receptionist to say I'm here for the interview, and you know, all of that, sign in, given a seat, and I get seated. 2 o'clock comes, 2 o'clock goes, and for me that was such a red flag. It was just like, because nobody came to explain anything, nobody apologized, like there was just no communication, to the point where it hit 2, and then some guy came and joined me, and he was saying he was there for his 2:30, and I said to him, well, you're gonna have to wait a while because I'm the 2 o'clock and I'm still not in yet. And it was a little bit funny because he was like, well, actually I saw you go in, and I was wondering if you're the 2 o'clock, and I'm like, okay, what time did you get here? And turns out he was there, I think, since 12. So yeah, and I think that's the thing, it shows you how desperate job seekers are. Like, I mean, people coming in like 2 hours before or an hour before just to make sure they are there on time, and for this company to just keep us waiting without telling us anything, without, you know, saying anything. And even when we went to the receptionist to ask her what's going on, she didn't know what was going on. So I wasn't really impressed, if I'm being honest. Like, these are the things that I judge companies for, because they judge us for the same things, right? So why shouldn't we judge them for that? And I don't know, it was unprofessional, and I just found it quite unacceptable. But here's the thing, I was desperate, so I was gonna wait if that's what it took. But I mean, inside I was just like, this is not good, this is just not good. I think by 10 to 3 I got called in, and so 15 minutes later, and I get called in, and the HR lady introduces herself, and it was supposed to be her and the person who's actually like the hiring manager, if I can put it that way. And she apologized for him, to say that, well, he just stepped out to help the other people who are currently being trained. So get this, turns out the people who came in the morning were basically hired on the spot, and they were being trained right there and there, because she had mentioned telephonically that they really needed people, and you know, it was not even a permanent position. I forgot to mention that it wasn't even a permanent position. It was like a 6-month contract, and you know, it was just a particular project that they were working on. So she said, you know what, we needed to get these people trained, so I apologize on his behalf. And you know, like, so now I'm thinking, okay, so I guess she's gonna have to do the interview by herself. Kandi, no, she's basically telling me all of this to gently let me down and tell me that I've wasted my time. And she was really nice about it. So I still can't sort of hold it against her, although I still hold the time thing and the non-communication against all of them, because that was not good. That was not good at all. But she was really nice about it. She was so nice about it. And I mean, like, she walked me out, you know. I'm not gonna cry. She walked me out, you know, almost to my car, and she's like just giving me this pep talk of, you know, it's not you, it's just, you know, we have our people, and as I had said to you, you are overqualified, and even these people are overqualified, but they do have the relevant experience, so they're gonna just like hit the ground running, you know. And I remember I got into the car and I was like, I'm not gonna cry. And I didn't cry. And I drove. And that's the thing, like, you know, when you're thinking, this is my last hope. This is the one thing I had hoped for. And I think I didn't process at the time, because I knew if I processed, I was going to start crying. And I need to drive home. And the worst part is that now traffic had already started. You know, 4-ways traffic is the worst. The companies in 4-ways. Anyways, and I'm driving, and I remember I decided to get some petrol. Simply because it's not like my tank was empty, but I'm that person that panics if I'm like on 3 bars, right? So I think I was like on 2 bars, and I was like, no, you know, like, I need to get some petrol, but I didn't have the money really. Like, I had money, but I'm just saying that, you know, like, I had been unemployed for 1.5 years at this point, so, you know, money was a bit tight. But the petrol attendant was so kind. And that's the thing, when they say be kind to people because you don't know what they're going through, that man was so kind. And I drove home, and I remember, like, I acted like everything was fine, you know, and I made myself some dinner. So I hadn't told people about this because, as I said, those other 3 I had communicated to people, and you know, it felt I don't know how to describe it, but it really feels more disappointing to have to tell it to somebody else. Because you say to somebody, you know, you say to a friend of yours, I'm going for an interview, please pray with me, you know, like, this is what's happening, I'm hoping to get it, and all of these things, and then it doesn't work out. And now obviously you have to go back to the person and say, hey, listen, it didn't work out. So as a result, for this particular position, I hadn't told a lot of people. I actually told only one person. Until today, only that one person knows what happened. And I spoke to that person and I said, listen, this is what happened, and, you know, told her the whole story. And she was like, are you okay? And do not cry. And I said, I'm okay. I made some dinner, I had some dinner, and the minute my head hit the pillow, that minute. Okay, so we're fighting through the story, okay? Because somebody needs to hear the story. So as I said, the minute the head hit the pillow, gone. And I cried so much that by the following morning, my eyes were like so big, like they were so swollen from all the crying. And even the following day, the whole day, I was just down. Like, I could hardly even like get myself up. Like, I would leave the bed and go lie on the couch, and I was just super depressed, to be honest. And I remember I said, because the following day, this friend obviously checked on me again to say, how are you doing? And I said, well, when I spoke to you and I said I was fine, actually turns out I hadn't processed I wasn't fine, and this is where I'm at now. And I remember I said to her, and she said, there'll be others, and like giving me that speech. Excuse me, giving me that speech, and trying to really encourage me. And I remember I said to her, I'm done. And I'm sure, like, she's not here to tell her side of the story, but I'm sure she was thinking, okay, she's being a bit dramatic, just because she didn't get this one, now she's saying she's done. But let me tell you something, I was done. From that day, and I think it was around the 7th of July or something like that. I just remember it was like the second week of July. From that day, I did not submit a single application. And not because king ideally. What's wrong in English? Hey guys, I don't know. I'll try to find it. Not because I had given up. Okay, wait, there it comes. Not because I had given up, but because I just said, I am surrendering this to God. I believe that God will take care of it. And my spreadsheets, my schedules, my targets, I'm surrendering them all. And I promise you, I did not, like, guys, if you want, you can just search my laptop, like, like you can search. I promise you, I did not apply for like any other position from that day. I did not. And tell me why. 2 months later, somebody out of the blue, somebody that I hadn't spoken to in years, says to me, listen, I know you're in the job market, and I need you to send me your CV. Out of nowhere. And can I tell you, this person is a believer, by the way. So, I just knew that this was God. And that's how, basically, long story short, I got my current position where I'm at. And this super long story, like I said, I'm gonna just try to keep it short, because I could go into details of what happened and all of that, but that's gonna just make the story longer. But the point of it is that I had to surrender control. I had to surrender what I knew how to do to get a job. And by doing that, and can I just say, it wasn't easy. Like, obviously a part of me was just like, girl, how are you gonna get a job if you're not applying? But I knew that I just needed to let it go. So I don't know who I'm talking to, but you need to realize that certain things you have to surrender to God. You have to have faith. Because there's the faith of saying, okay, I believe in God, I believe Jesus came and died for my sins. That's the faith, right? But there's also the faith of saying, that woman with the issue of blood, right? She had faith to say, if I touch the hem of his garment, I'm going to be healed. You are going to need that level of faith in certain situations, because you've tried everything in your power. You did what you knew how to do. What everybody said works, you did it, and it didn't work. But you're just going to have faith that God will work it out. He will come through for you. You just need to trust in him. And let me tell you something, you don't need to be buying waters and, I don't know, traveling to certain countries. None of that. All you need to do is say, Lord, I surrender this thing, and I'm going to trust you to come through for me. I'm going to trust you with it. And you know, the one thing that is not spoken about a lot is also a point of surrender, is also being able to say, even if it doesn't happen, I still trust that it's what's best for me, even if it doesn't happen. Because I also don't want to be sitting here guaranteeing you that, you know, that Maserati that you want is gonna appear, right? Because everything also has to be according to his will for your life. So if that is what he has purposed for you, it will happen. But sometimes we might be asking amiss, right? So I don't want to sit here and be saying, oh, everything you're praying for, everything you're surrendering, you're gonna get, or God is going to perform a miracle in that area. Not necessarily, but that's a whole other video, right? But I just want you to understand what I'm trying to say is that some things you just need to surrender them and allow God to step in, and he will do it. He will do what is best for you. You know, the Bible speaks about he will not withhold any good thing from us. So you just need to trust him. I hope this testimony has, you know, revived something in you. I hope it has encouraged somebody, and trust him. Trust in the Lord. He's so good. He's such a good God. Thank you for watching. Do let me know what you think, especially if it really resonated with you. I'd love to hear about it in the comment section, and do give it a like. Please share it with somebody. Until the next video, love and light to you all.